Welcome to the podcast editing and support show. My name is Dave. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to start the episode right now. Happy to have you here. Let's do this. Hey, welcome back to the show. Glad to have you back here with me. I host 8 other podcasts on top of this very show you're listening to. And I first want to say thank you to the amazing community here at Podcast Editing and Support Show. I see you in my stats, and oh my gosh, you guys are lighting up the entire planet with listeners around the world in places I have to look up and search. I got to tell you, because I've never been there. I'd love to go, but thank you for where you listen from. I would love to hear from you. I know I've done this before, but if you have a moment, through my website, in the show notes as well, you can get my SpeakPipe link. It's a quick, easy thing. You click through, hit record, leave me a voice message. I would love to hear your voice, and tell me where you're listening from. Where are you? Because I can see you on my map, in my analytics. I can see that there are people listening all over the world, and it's outstanding. It's very encouraging, and the fact that you're here is great. So thank you. For those who don't know about my other shows, one of my other podcasts is called the How to Podcast series. I've been doing that for years, and we're up to about 650, 660 episodes for that show. And right now, that podcast is doing a daily episode. Every single day in 2026, there's a new episode. So I anticipate that some of you have no idea that I have these other shows. So I'd love for you to go check it out. Check out the How to Podcast series. It's really a fun show. We talk podcasting. We talk about all things to help you grow your show and be better at podcasting. And it's there for you at howtopodcast.ca. CA is a Canadian website, howtopodcast.ca. You can find out more information about the show. There's also a link in the show notes as well. You know how we do it. And what I wanted to do today was share a portion of the most recent episode of the How to Podcast series for you, so that you could get a little taste of the show, but also the conversation's super important for us in podcast editing and support. And it's all around Apple's new re-announcement of video on Apple Podcasts, and what it means to creators, what it means to listeners, and the impacts for us as editors, I think, is significant. It's something to talk about. So one of the people that I've been following and in talks with for a long time now is Rob Greenlee. He is one of the original podcasters from before the beginning of podcasting, before there was even a thing. Rob was doing a podcast-esque type thing, and he naturally fell into podcasting and has been a great supporter of podcasting from day one. Rob has a show called The New Media Show. Rob was the co-host on that show with Todd Cochran, who has passed away. We miss Todd dearly. And Rob has continued the show, and now he's bringing on people as guest co-hosts. And this time around, he had Justin Jackson on, who's a Canadian, yay, like me. And Justin is the part of Transistor.fm. He's a big part of that team and that business. It's a hosting site, Transistor.fm. Again, links in the show notes. And the two of them are having a conversation about the Apple announcement, where they're going to have what they're calling HLS streaming of video. And basically what's going to happen is, instead of a video file being downloaded to a device, a listener's device, by the entirety of the whole file, instead they're going to serve up little small chunks of time from the episode. And it depends on where you press play, where you skip to, what you skip over, what you listen to, will only be accounted for as far as a stat or an analytic, not just the entirety of the file, because we don't know who is actually listening to the entire file when you download the whole thing. We don't know if you listen to the ad, for example, if you have a sponsored podcast. So this is a way for Apple not only to serve up video in a better format than they were doing, but also for Apple to then dip their Apple hands into what we call the Apple tax, into the the content. And if there is an ad, they can make some money from it as well. So it makes sense. And when Apple does something, everyone takes notice. That's just the way Apple way. So what I wanted to do is bring in the episode that I did for the How to Podcast series. We call this a feed drop. I'm going to bring it in, drop it in here for you. So you can listen to it here, but I would still love for you to go check out howtopodcast.ca and check out the show. Maybe there's some great value there as an editor, as a support person, so you can learn more about podcasting to serve your clients better. And I'd love to have you come see us over there at that podcast as well. So here is the episode that I did for the How to Podcast series. Get right to it. I'll jump back here at the end and just kind of give you a couple thoughts as we leave. But here you go. Here's the episode from the How to Podcast series. Thank you for being here. Let's go.
Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. I hope you're doing well. Lots of great podcasting stuff happening. This is really fun. I love being here with you and having time with you in your day. Thank you for making this a priority and pressing play. First timer, hey, welcome to the show. We talk podcasting and we do this in community, and we bring on guest co-hosts, other podcasters to share their journey, their story, and introduce you to new shows. If you're interested, always looking for guests. And as well, we teach podcasting. We encourage podcasters. It's what we do here. And I know there's many alternatives to this show, but we want to be your favorite show. So thank you for pressing play. I promise to earn your trust. That's my goal in every episode. We are doing, just so you know, a daily episode in 2026. So every single day, there's a new episode of the How to Podcast series. Some are short, some are a little bit longer, but we're doing a daily episode, not Monday to Friday, but 7 days a week, 365 days straight. Yeah. So you're in the right spot. If you love podcasting, you want to learn more about podcasting, you want to meet great podcasters. Awesome. And a bonus for you, just you. Don't tell anybody else. We have a meetup group, and it's completely free. And we meet up with other podcasters from around the world. We've had people from Italy and France and the UK, the US, Canada, and we talk podcasting. So if you want to meet some of the nicest human beings in the world who just happen to be podcasters, we have a meetup group just for you, and it's completely free. So come join us. All the links, howtopodcast.ca. I've done my call to action at the beginning. Now let's get into the content. I want to talk about, again, revisiting this Apple announcement for video in podcasting on the Apple platform. Spotify has a version of this. YouTube obviously has a version. And then there's other places as well that has video content. And Apple is coming back to their roots, where they started from, back to their where they had video in the past. They didn't really promote it as much. A lot of people forgot about it or never even realized that Apple had video back in the day. But they are really going hard into the space and causing some waves. They've thrown a big rock into the pond, and we're all trying to figure out what to do next. So just so you know, if you haven't met me yet, I'm an Android user. I've never owned any Apple products. So I'm a little bit biased towards Android. So I don't understand the Apple universe, and they seem to sell a lot of devices, and that's kind of where they make their money on hardware, like phones and everything else, right? That's where they make their money, and everything else kind of feeds back into their world. That's kind of how I understand it from the outside looking in. From an Android perspective, I have a totally different view of all of this. You're going to hear some of my bias in the episode, which is fine, because again, I'm representing the Android people who don't partake in the Apple world. But there's a lot of my friends who do live in the Apple world, and they love it. And bless you, because you love your Apple devices. I don't get it, but hey, that's why we have choice in the world, and that's a good thing. So let's talk about this. I want to talk about the fact that the video side seems to be decimating the audio side of an audio-first podcast like this show. I'm an audio-first creator. I don't do video for every episode. I do video sparingly in the margins of life because I have a job. I have 9 different podcasts that I host, and video for 9 shows just doesn't translate into my world. I don't have that kind of time or money or bandwidth to create that much video content. So when I approach podcasting, I'm approaching it from an audio first perspective. And I deal with a lot of podcasters who are coming to podcasting who also don't have a bandwidth to do a lot of video. And I wanted to create a safe place for them as well to come into the space and not have to deal with video from the start. So you kind of get my bias right off the bat, but I do want to talk about this more. And there's an episode of the New Media Show hosted now by Rob Greenlee, where he's bringing on guest co-hosts, kind of like what I do here. And the New Media Show has been around for years and years and years. Rob was the co-host with Todd Cochran, who's sadly passed away. We miss you, Todd. And Rob had Justin Jackson on from Transistor.fm, a Canadian company, because I'm in Canada. Yay, Transistor. They were talking about the fact that Apple's video announcement is having an impact on the audio side of podcasting. And I'm going to play little clips from their conversation, full link to the episode in the show notes. I'd love for you to go listen and support Rob and his podcast and support Justin as a guest. Please go and check that out and get the full context of the conversation. But I'm going to pull out a few things and share them with you here around this kind of thing that's happening with the audio and the video side of podcasting. So glad you're here. Let's jump in. I think we all know what a pressure point is. That piece where you can touch somebody on a certain part of their arm or their leg or their back or whatever, their neck, and they just turn to jello. They're like, ugh, right? There's something, it's like a pain point. It hits your elbow, okay, like your funny bone. And you're like, oh, I don't know why they would call it a funny bone because it friggin' hurts. But yeah, you hit that part of your body and you're like, ow, right? So pain points. This conversation around video podcasting is what I would call a pain point in podcasting at the moment. The thing about video is not everybody has the skills, talent, ability, and money to invest in a video version of their show. And for some podcasters, a video component to their show makes very little sense. So we had Jordan Blair on the podcast a while back. She works at Buzzsprout. She has a couple podcasts. She co-hosts the Buzzcast podcast for Buzzsprout. A lot of buzzes in there. And she also has her own podcast called Dreamful, which is a sleep podcast designed to help you fall asleep. And she's like, you get two totally different versions of Jordan on those two podcasts, which is fun. Now, Jordan's podcast, Dreamful, is designed to put you to sleep. So the last thing you need is a video screen blaring in your eyes while you're trying to get sleepy. That's counterproductive. That's not going to work. So a video component to her podcast or a full video episode, I don't think that's going to work. So to say that all podcasters must do video, I think is a miss. To say that nobody should do video is a miss. There's got to be some spot where we can kind of land here that makes sense for you. I would say the very bare minimum for any podcast, including a sleep podcast, would be that you should have some way of connecting via video for your podcast. So what I'm doing right now is daily video, face-to-camera clips on my phone, posting them to to YouTube, to TikTok, and Instagram. Like 1 minute or less, right? Because I want to get Instagram, the ability to put it up on Instagram. Instagram, they're up for 24 hours, they disappear. So I'm taking that same content, putting it on YouTube, and it lives there a lot longer. And I get a lot better results on YouTube as a short. And it feeds into my whole YouTube channel and my whole unofficial strategy for YouTube for this show. And so anyway, so I like that part. I'm reusing the same content and posting it natively on each of these platforms. So I think a video component to what you do around your show is a good idea. Now, is it mandatory? No. For me, my approach is video is there to promote the episodes and promote the podcast, not be the podcast. That's just my approach. Now, will that change in the future? Maybe. But at this point, I don't see that kind of availability to do this well. So if I can't do it well and I can't commit to it financially and time-wise, then I'm going to keep it on hold for now. It's going to be in the margins of life for me. And that's just my approach. It's not a rule. It's my approach. You can do whatever you want. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this. But what I am seeing is there are some commentary out in the podcasting world about the fact that people want to switch from however they're partaking in podcasting as they go through their day, they want the podcast to follow them and stay in line with them. So they talk about this Rob and Justin talk about this, that people like to have their podcast start on their phone in the car, and they're listening, and they get to work or get home, and then they can just switch to another device and pick up where they left off. They don't have to go back and try to find where they ended in the car and restart on a different device. They want all the devices to sync together, so it's one continuous play, no matter what you play and no matter where you are. That makes a lot of sense. I like that idea. I hate scrubbing through and trying to find the moment where I was leaving off on my listening or viewing experience. So that makes sense. But it seems like the whole world in podcasting is leaning more to that being the definition of why we need video so much. There's some other underlying things to this, but that seems to be the thing that most people are hanging their hat on. So here's Rob and Justin talking about that part of podcasting suiting the needs of the listener, which I agree with, but all around the idea that if I go from one device to the next, it should follow me as I go. So we start off with Justin. Here's him kind of opening up the conversation with Rob, but here's Justin from Transistor talking about this change.
So to do video the way that consumers seem to want it, which is being able to switch fluidly between the audio and video version.
Right. So you start listening in the car on the way home from work, and then you get home and you can switch it to the video experience and maybe throw it up on your big screen TV via AirPlay or something like that. I can see that scenario, or also Apple TV.
That's right. So to accomplish that, so what some folks have been doing is they create an audio-only experience for the audio listeners, and then their video, they have a totally different edit, and they throw that up on YouTube. Yeah, that is going to go away.
So no, that's the part right there that I'm struggling with as an audio first creator, that piece is going to go away. This audio first, or as some people are doing it, having an audio feed for their show and then having a separate video feed for their show and keeping them separate from each other so they don't even mix. And then they just live in this world of posting everything twice. A video version and an audio version. That's what Rob's been doing and Todd had been doing for years and years and years for the New Media Show. So this is kind of their standard operating procedure for that show, and others. Other podcasters do this as well. The fact that it's going to go away, like that's a pretty solid prediction from Justin. And I don't know your reaction to that, but for me, that makes me sad. Because I do like creating an audio. I do like doing what I'm doing right now. And how I edit this is a lot easier than trying to do a video version of this and bringing these clips in and back to Dave and B-roll and words on the screen. Like, it's just a lot. It's a lot. Especially for somebody new who doesn't have any training or background and anything to do with video editing. It's just something that I'm kind of wrestling with. And where are we heading in podcasting? If that's the reality, if Justin is right and he's a smart guy, then where are we going with audio first podcasting? And if we are headed down the road that it's going to go away, that makes me sad. Just my response.
Is they create an audio-only experience for the audio listeners, and then their video, they have a totally different edit, and they throw that up on YouTube. Yeah, that is going to go away for sure, because to accomplish this switching paradigm that YouTube already has on YouTube Music, that Spotify already has on Spotify, and that Apple has not released, and even what we were presenting as a part of the Podcast Standards Project, and then Fountain and True Fans adopted, is this idea you can switch fluidly between the video version and the audio version. Right now, Fountain and true fans switches between the alternate enclosure tag and the audio enclosure. But we've already seen problems with it because now consumers are like, how come it doesn't switch to the part of the podcast that I was at? The only way to get over that problem is we have to give up a little something. And that is to have this separate audio video experience. And I know some creators don't like that.
Yeah, they don't, because they want to create a separate, more deeper edit on the audio side.
Yeah, so there's going to be a little bit of a painful transition, right?
And that's what I'm worried about a little bit from an audio first perspective for this show and my other shows and the podcast I edit for and on, that it is going to be a little painful as we transition away from having a separate audio edit that's different from the video edit. The tools that we use, the process that we have in place, all of these things all add up. And I'm just wondering where we're going in the future. And again, like the title of the podcast episode is Video Podcasting Decimating Audio for podcasters, editors, and listeners. I'm really curious as to what you're feeling and finding for your show. I personally hope and believe that audio podcasting will remain and that there is a space for all of us, whether you're a video creator or an audio creator. There's still going to be room for us. I still hold that hope. I haven't given up yet. But they continue here.
Like, for example, the show you see on Apple Podcasts via HLS video will be different than the show you get on Pocket Casts via the traditional audio enclosure if they're uploading a different version. I think that, again, because consumer demand will kind of drive a lot of this.
Right.
And the UI paradigm has already been, the user interface paradigm has already been chosen, which is we have a switching paradigm where you switch between the video and audio version. There's no other path forward except to you. It makes sense to just have the audio from the video becomes the podcast. Now, I think people are worried about this. Like, I edit my podcast a certain way, and you know what? Creators will learn how to do this creatively. I think podcast editors are going to adapt, producers are going to adapt, and there's going to be this whole new opportunity to create more fluid media. So right now, the audio editors and engineers are like, oh, we're going to miss out on so much. We could do all these cuts, and that's going to look weird on video. They will become skilled at delivering a more fluid experience, and it's actually going to be fun. It will be fun because you're going to have opportunities to prompt the user every once in a while with a visual. For example, a lot of video podcasts are consumed in the background. So people aren't watching the whole time. They just have it up on screen. They got something on screen, and every once in a while they'll look over. Well, pretty soon, the adept creator and editor is going to think up new and creative ways to engage folks who are in more fluid consumers. They're consuming the audio, but then they go to the video, and then somebody with the video on in the background is already doing this. So you're going to have opportunities to just like meet people where they're at.
So I'm curious from your perspective, as a listener of this show, as a listener of other podcasts, as a viewer of podcasts, I've had a lot of different opinions on the show. I've had a lot of different podcasters come on as guest co-hosts, some with a video focus, some with an audio focus, some with a blended focus. It's very interesting to get everyone's perspective. So I would love to hear from you while we're taking a break here in the middle here. To go to howtopodcast.ca, there's a SpeakPipe link. Let me know. I want to know kind of what your feelings are around this. Your feedback on all this would be super helpful. And yeah, I'd like to hear what you're doing and maybe where you feel compelled to go next for your show. Let me know. howtopodcast.ca. Click the SpeakPipe link. Send me a message about video podcasting. What are you doing? Let's get back to this.
What we're creating here is a kind of like a split market. of podcasting, right? A lot of people are used to this being an audio only market, right? And now we're thrusting them into a alternative experience, which would be video first experience. And these audio first creators are still going to have a pathway. They're still going to be in the catalog. They can produce, but they're going to be disincentivized to create video versions of a heavily produced audio experience, right? So it may be not possible for them to get involved into video, right? So we're creating two different pathways into these catalogs as we look to the future. And I think as long as we're straightforward with this and we're telling people, what's going to be expected. And I think if you're a video creator, you have to do more thinking about creating your production so it's friendly on the audio only side.
So Rob makes a really good point here for video creators, video podcasters, YouTubers, whatever you want to call them, to make sure that you are including your audio audience. I don't find this often enough, and I find that a lot of creators forget there's an audio version of the podcast. Don't follow Joe Rogan's example here, because in an audio format, many of the components of his show make no sense because A, they're playing video, which you can't see in an audio podcast, and B, they don't explain the video. They don't say what's happening. They just do reactions to the video. And you're like, well, I don't even know what's going on. So when you hear Joe Rogan say this,
pull it up, Jamie.
Realize that listeners of that podcast and that episode are tuning out because you've forgotten all about them. So video creators, don't forget your audio listeners. Please, again, remember, they're not always watching. You might be on in the background. They're not looking at the screen. So when you hold up that thing or you mention the thing behind the person or the shirt or the color or the picture or the video clip, don't forget your audio listener. Please. Rob asked Justin about the reaction from the podcast community, the podcasters, about this change, and what Justin thought about the reaction so far about this whole video audio conversation.
The only thing I pay attention to is the consumer and the creator. Those two drive everything. So it's not some person who has an opinion in a podcast industry, some, 60-year-old man that's been around forever and has, they grew up through radio and now they've got opinions. I don't care at all about what they say. I can get caught up in this too. Like, what does the industry care about? Like, what do we got? Doesn't matter. That's how you lose sight of what's important. What matters is consumers. And the reason I'm not like, everyone's like, oh, it's going to be so hard, like video and audio, and some people will only be listening. And is a creator going to know what to do? All of this like hand wringing in the industry about, we're losing something special and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, what do real consumers want? And what do creators want to make? Well, most creators want to make something that means something to an audience,
right?
Whether that's 10 people or 100 people or 500 people or 100,000 people. Creators will adapt. It's up to the creator to know their audience, right? That's it. And if the market for shows like, Welcome to Night Vale, if that market, maybe people don't want those shows as much anymore, that's fine. That's, or maybe there'll be a whole new audience that wants a mix of these kind of audio immersive dramas, but you could still produce something on video that just adds a little something. It doesn't have to be the main experience. It can be a supportive experience to these immersive, and these already exist on YouTube. There are so many YouTube videos where there's not much going on screen. And people are listening, consuming, and also just sometimes like to have it on in the background. So there's going to be lots of opportunities here. And it's not up to the industry. The industry decides nothing. It's the consumer. It's the creator. I think where we should be thankful is that podcast as a cultural atomic unit means something to the wider culture.
And that's a good point from Justin, that yes, podcasting has definitely filled in a gap. Podcasting has grown and is replacing some forms of media or diminishing other forms of media traditionally that have been the go-to place for content. Podcasting is definitely filling in the gap. So a few thoughts just from my perspective as we kind of head towards the end of the episode, but some reaction to what you've heard. Again, a link in the show notes to get the full episode. And I really encourage you to go watch the entire episode. There's a lot of great information between Rob and Justin. Respect them both as leaders in podcasting. Very smart gentlemen. They represent some very strong voices in podcasting as well. So go check it out. But here's a few thoughts as we wrap up from my perspective. And this show and the podcasts that I work with and the podcasters that I come across. Here's some thoughts. Will Apple's HLS video podcasting announcement kill audio first podcasting? I don't think so. I think it mainly raises the ceiling for shows that want to serve both listeners and viewers in one feed, not two separate feeds, an audio feed and a video feed. So in that case, I see that. The big shift is that Apple is optimizing for seamless audio-video switching, creator control, and new video ad inventory. That's another big component of all this. Not replacing audio-only podcasting outright. So that's the first thing. Next, Apple is changing. What they are changing is the experience lets users switch, again, seamlessly between watching and listening. Watch it in full screens, download video offline, get automatic quality adjustment through HLS. Apple also says creators keep control of the distribution, the monetization, through participating hosts and ad networks. The RSS feed, how podcasting is delivered, still remains. That's how the video component of podcasting on Apple has the show notes, the episode titles, all the metadata, all that comes through your hosting site through RSS. So that's still valid. That hasn't changed. Apple, I think, is trying to make video feel native inside podcasting rather than separate and awkward like a side channel. So no longer video will feel like a bolted on piece to podcasting. It'll feel like it's native and it's supposed to be there. So that's one thing. What do we gain in all this? I think we gain more control across platform listening and watching experience. Plus, we get better monetization for creators who can support video, for advertisers and larger shows. Remember, larger shows carry the most weight and get the most attention. So whatever they do is a ripple effect down to the small shows like yours and mine. But the large shows are asking for better reporting on whether an ad was played or viewed or listened to. HLS will allow your video, your content to be put into small little bite-sized chunks, and it's easier to monitor and see if for sure an ad was played. So that's going to be better for advertisers. Doesn't really affect you and I, but they're going to be downloading little pieces instead of the entire file for your episode. So there's better measurement for those podcasters who have sponsors, who have to report back on whether or not an ad was played. And if you think of it from a sponsor's perspective, yeah, it's something that we owe our sponsors. If you have a sponsor, you can't just say, I had 100 downloads. That doesn't mean anything to a sponsor. That doesn't mean anybody played anything. It just means somebody downloaded your file. A file was transferred from a host to your device. Was it played? I don't know. Was the ad heard? I don't know. But we got the money from the sponsor. Is that a fair deal for the sponsor? How do they know? How do they know? They don't know. So unless you have some kind of link that's trackable, where you can report on how many people clicked the link and went to the host or the sponsor and purchased the item or signed up, That's the only way you can really know. So, yes, it's more fair to the sponsors to have something that's measurable. That makes sense. Just makes sense. For small shows like this, I don't have any sponsors. So that's nothing that I'm worried about. But again, the big shows dominate the needs of podcasting, and whatever they ask for is what's going to come down the pipe. So that's just reality. We can't really change that. I think that the trade-off here is that some creators are going to need to simplify or rethink highly edited audio productions so they can make sense when video is available, because Apple's model is built around switching again between versions, audio, video, back and forth, rather than maintaining completely separate creative experiences, having a video version and then a separate audio version. As to Justin's comment, the audio-only version will go away in that situation, and they're just going to pull the audio from the video, ignore the audio track completely. So if you do fancy edits in audio, like I like to do, that's all going to not translate unless it is done in video first. So keep that in mind. So there's going to be a change, a big change for podcast editors in that piece. There's going to be pressure for audio first producers like me, who rely on deep sound design, tighter audio only pacing, or a different director's cut for listeners. Rob and Justin, their discussion points to the industry tension, though, that's happening in the workflow is moving more towards one adaptive experience instead of two completely separate ones. I think that's kind of what we're getting from all of this. Is there still room for audio only in podcasting? As speaking as an Android user who's not in the Apple sphere, I don't have any of those Apple TV things or whatever they mentioned. I don't have any of that stuff. For an Android user, we're not automatically excluded from podcasting's shift toward video because the underlying HLS concept is available in different ways, and different platforms are already using it, and you can use it through Android. It's just that it seems everything's around Apple. Apple this, Apple that. Apple this, Apple that. So from a listener's perspective, from an outsider's perspective, I'm just a little tired of the word Apple all the time because I don't have anything. I can't do what you're saying that you're doing. So that's just my own personal opinion. Android users may still access video podcast content, but they may not be able to get Apple's tightly integrated playback, quality switching, or monetization layers. That's just something that's still in the process. We don't know yet. It's still not fully rolled out. Some implications for podcasters, though. For current podcasters, I would say the safest move is to think in terms of audio-friendly video, not video for video's sake. That means clear visuals, more verbal context for screen elements, and fewer edits that only work in audio while breaking the visual flow. For new creators who struggle with video, audio first is still viable, but the market will increasingly reward shows that can offer some visual layers, even if it's minimal, simple, or supplementary, like in addition to what you're already doing. The strongest point, I think, from Rob and Justin's conversation is that behavior is already fluid. People often watch some of a show and then listen passively or do the reverse. That suggests that the future is less audio versus video and more how well does a show work across all the different platforms so we can reach as many people as possible. So I think Apple's move is not the death sentence for audio first podcasting. It is a strong nudge towards formats that can gracefully travel between listening and viewing. So overall, I don't see this as a big negative. I don't see this as a huge collapse of audio podcasting. But for those who are audio first creators who disdain video, I think you're going to run into some problems down the road. As the world moves and as podcasting grows up, things are going to happen. We have growing pains. Think back to when you were a teenager. Everything hurt, right? All your joints, all your muscles, your bones, because your body was changing. It was growing rapidly. And everything was painful. Those are called growing pains. That's natural. And in podcasting, as we grow up, as this industry grows, it's going to have growing pains. This is a pressure point. This is a growing pain. And how we navigate this and grow our audience and bring more people into podcasting, I think it's going to make podcasting better, not worse. So will I continue doing audio podcasts? Yes, because I love it. I love doing audio podcasting. I listen to audio podcasts. I rarely watch a video podcast. That's just my own personal view. But my personal view does not dictate what you do. And we should be careful to not do the same. Just because you enjoy podcasting the way you enjoy it doesn't mean the world believes in and also agrees with you. So just have a wide open view of this. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. My favorite quote. And just do podcasting to the best of your ability. And don't be too worried that you're going to miss the boat. There's room for everybody. Video, audio, blended, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of room for you. So don't be worried. Create what you can and keep moving forward. Your podcast will grow. Your audience will grow. And whatever you choose is the right choice. As long as you chose it. Because it's your audience and it's your show. You can do whatever you want. And there's nobody who could stand in your way and say, you can't do that. It's podcasting. It's for everyone. Thanks for being here. Okay, so that's the episode from the How to Podcast series. Again, thank you so much for checking that out, getting a little taste of that show as well in this feed drop. It's kind of what we're doing here. Just a closing thought as we wrap this up. I think as podcast editing and support people, we need to know what's going on in the industry. If we don't know, how can we serve our clients the best? We don't want them finding out this stuff on their own and then coming to us going, what's happening with this? And we have no idea, right? We want to be ahead of the curve. So an example of a podcast that I would encourage you to listen to as a podcast editor and support person would be Pod News. Pod News has a daily podcast episode. It's just short in the mornings. It's great. James Cridlin is the host of that. And then they have Pod News Daily, the weekly review, where they kind of combine the week into one episode. So if you only have time for one, then do the one that comes out at the end of the week, Podcast Daily Review. That's a really good one. Or if you want to do the Daily Bites, then some of the stuff has got some radio stuff in it. Some of it has some really highly technical things in it. So just look at the title. James is really good for how he titles it, how he does his chapters. I find myself skipping around. Some stuff doesn't relate to me at all. So I just skip through, and that's great that he does that. So if you want to learn about podcasting, James is a great source. He's also way out in advance of what's coming in podcasting. So that's a great thing to tie into. And I really encourage you to go check out his podcast as well and support him, as he has been one of the champions of podcasting for a long, long time. I really admire him and what he does with Sam Sethi and the Pod News Daily Weekly Review. So there you go. So check it out and be informed. Be educated as a podcast editing and support person. The more you know, the more people you can help. And that's my encouragement for you. Go out there, learn, be a student of podcasting. And don't throw your hands up in the air and go, I've never heard of that. I don't know what HLS streaming is. I don't know what Apple's video announcement was. I have no clue what's happening. You can't serve your community well if you don't know what's happening yourself. So get out there, educate yourself. If you ever need help, reach out. I'd love to talk to you over at podcasteditingandsupport.com. Take care. See you next time. Thanks for listening to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. Visit us at podcasteditingandsupport.com, podcasteditingandsupport.com. We would love to help you find a great podcast editor, or if you want to hire us, we would love to work with you. Podcasteditingandsupport.com. Catch you on the next episode. Take care.